to a new episode of the Presidential Executive. Your boy JD Rag over here.
What's going on? Y'all know what it is.
I'm tired, bro.
Man, you and me both.
Tired, bro. Teaching these. My son EJ got 6-year-old, 6 and under basketball practice, and today we gave out their jerseys / t-shirts. And, they doing t-shirts, because of the situation. Right. You know what I'm saying? So, he did choose number 23 though. You know what I'm saying? He chose number 23. Well, he had a little help.
Oh, you coerced him.
He had a little help. I just had to, this is a real number right here. Pay homage. But he did choose. I left it up to him like, I'll do 23. So, did that, man. And so usually when we start recording and stuff, I'm getting here, I'm helping putting the kids to bed, trying to get the baths and get all this stuff going. And, I thought about this coming here with a hat and a white beater on today. Just,
She did it. I don't know, though. Your wife might get mad. You know what I'm saying?
I think she made...
If you got a white beater and some sweat, you already got your jogging pants on, right? You put that white beater on with your jogging pants.
Gotta do it, man. That's the way I felt today. You know what I'm saying?
You clickbaiting.
Y'all right. I'm going clickbait. I'm doing too much.
Don't stand up and do no jumping jacket. We're going to get a whole lot of likes. Like, subscribe, share.
It's for the family, baby.
Right.
It's for the family.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Right.
But, so yeah, man, everything cool with you, bro?
Yeah, man. Just, like I said, long day. Yeah. Rain, sleet, or snow, mail gotta go.
Yep.
You know what I'm saying? So, make it happen.
Yep. And then today, before I even do that, just obviously everybody continue to share, subscribe to Presidential Executive on Instagram, Presidential Executive Podcast on Facebook. Continue to do that, support, and do that, man. And before we get into the Capitol and stuff, we're about a week. I think it was last Wednesday. I think it happened, right? The Capitol building and stuff.
It's been almost a week.
Yeah, I think it'd be a week on Wednesday. Before we press record, we're talking about Kyrie. Recently he's missed a few games, and he has, and nobody knows where this dude is at, or really he doesn't have a reason, a real reason why he's been missing games that he get paid, millions of dollars to do. So, at this point for me, I'm just like, the dude need prayer, man. It's just like you said, the sage and stuff is not working, clearly. And he just needs some, attention, clearly. And some real help, man. Cause I just, and it's on KD too. KD chose to play with this cat.
I mean, maybe they need to trade James Harden for Kyrie.
At this point,
I don't wish no evil on dude. At this point, Austin Rivers is playing better than Kyrie so far this year.
He played for the Knicks, right?
For the Knicks, yeah.
Okay.
But no, in all seriousness, though, I don't wish any ill will towards him. As far as from a skill standpoint, he is one of the most skilled players in the league right now. And if you were just making a top skilled players of all time list, I don't see how you could leave him off of it.
Yeah.
Cleveland doesn't win that championship if he doesn't hit that big shot
at all. People want to argue me about that,
right? So I'm not taking anything away from his talent,
right?
And skill, because talent and skill are different. You know what I'm saying? You're born with talent.
Yeah. Skill
you have to work on. You have to develop.
Mm-hmm.
Skill will stay with you forever. He'll be 80 years old and still will be able to dribble that ball as long as you move around.
Yep.
Talent will leave as you get older because you're not able to move like you were when you were younger. But I just and I don't even care about him playing basketball. You know what I'm saying? At this point,
it's for real.
People's mental health is real, and while I have my own thoughts on counseling and therapy and stuff like that, he needs something.
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying? He need prayer. He need counseling. He need an intervention.
Yeah. Jesus,
man. And that's what I'm on. But I know that everybody that watches this is not on it, and so, I'm always willing to sit down and share with anybody about why I believe the way I believe and why my faith is the way it is. But at the same time, I understand I'm not going to put a gun in anybody's head and try to make you or impose, tell you I'm better than you because I believe this way. But we can sit down and reason together if you're willing. You know, I listen, but that's all I ask in return. If you're not going to listen to me, I don't want to listen to you either, you know.
Right.
But at the same time, like, it's something, you know what I'm saying? So, you know, I definitely believe that. But if you don't want to go that route, you know, you need somebody to talk to, somebody to hold your hand. What's the lady name? Ileana. Fix my life.
Oh, yeah, the lady on the
Van Zandt. Yeah, she need to fix his life or something.
Yeah, man.
So, yeah. I hate it for the brother.
Yeah, it kind of sucks, you know, but yeah, shout out to Kyrie, man. Whatever it is, like basketball wise, you can talk about him. Like I, don't think he's maybe a number one on the championship team, whatever within that, but just the fact that he's clearly like off or hurting, you know what I'm saying? Just it's kind of disturbing, but he do what he do. And also, I think I said at the end of the last episode, we're gonna be on different platforms, audio. Coming soon, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, all those platforms where you actually hear your podcast. Because people have reached out to me. It was like, when y'all gonna get on the actual platform, because they be, going here and there, maybe working and doing stuff like that. So instead of watching it, but like I said, even on YouTube, you can actually, still hear without it, kind of disturbing you. But it's different with the audio platform. I get that. So with the microphone, it'll be more clear, more crisp. So we're trying to get all that stuff together now. So that should be soon, coming, hopefully within this next month or so. So with no further ado, man, the stuff that happened to the Capitol, I'm sure we probably think similar in some ways, other ways, may not, just depend on the perspective, but with the Capitol building, obviously with President Trump had his speech and had all that stuff, a hearing, I think it was, for the elections, with the Electoral College and all this stuff. And he had a speech, and they had, no millions, but several 100,000 people near or at the Capitol on Pennsylvania Avenue, where the White House and stuff is at, walking up, protesting, about fraud, about, believing that it wasn't a fair election. And so people ended up storming the Capitol building. I think 4 people were dead. I think one lady for sure, but I think 4 ended up dying. And then it was just a lot of other ruckus going on out there outside. So so the first thing that you thought about when you heard about the Capitol building, what did you hear from, like on Twitter or something like that? Or
man, believe it or not, I was at work and I had no idea what was going on, and so I got back, and so the evening supervisor was like, she was like, these folks are crazy. I was like, what are you talking about? She said, you ain't heard what's been going on? I'm like, no, I've been delivering. Right. I don't know what's going on. But so in her office, like, she cut the TV on, and like it was on the news, and they were showing, the people, and so then as I left, I look on my phone, look on Facebook, and I see people have already made memes and stuff of people, climbing over the fence and climbing the walls and stuff like that. And so it was just like, I'm not surprised, like I wasn't surprised. And so when people was like, oh, if they had been black, they wouldn't have. And again, I wasn't surprised. And I've thought about this, like I believe that God knew what he was doing with me, like the reason I never made any professional sport or anything like that. Because like I'd have been the dude to come out in blackface at a press conference. And they'd have been like, what are you doing? It's like, oh, well, I'm just trying to do what y'all want me to do. I'm just trying to dance for my master and everything, because that's the way y'all look at. Y'all won't say that.
Right.
And so, like, that's my only issue with, like, a lot of the stuff. We know what it is, but people try to act like it's not that. And I want it to change, but the thing with change is it's just like when if somebody's going to AA, which is ironic because but if somebody's going to AA, like what's the first thing they say? My name is such and such, and I'm an alcoholic. You got to admit that there's a problem before you can change the problem. Right. The reason why we've never been able to change, because that side of it will not admit that we are effed up in the head. Yeah. So until they acknowledge, okay, you know what? We do think we're better than everybody else. We do think that y'all are beneath us. Yeah. We still kind of salty that we don't own y'all no more. You know, we really wish that we had won the Civil War. You know, like until they acknowledge that, you cannot have any change. And I alluded to this back when we was talking about, I forget what episode it was, when we were talking about cancel culture and freedom of speech and how Archie Bunker was like one of the realest characters on TV. But the reason why he got along with George Jefferson's character is because he acknowledged the way he felt and thought. Right. And that's why him and George were able to get along, because George was able to tell him, okay, well, this is what I think about you. And they were able to come to common ground because they both acknowledged that the way I'm thinking may be outdated, it may be wrong, but this is where I am, and now you can change. The reason why we're not able to change as a country is because, and then this is not all, white people, but a majority of people who think like that are white will not acknowledge that this is how we feel. You know what I'm saying? So when we get, harassed and shot by the police and stuff like that, most of them don't care. Because their thought is, nigga, what they got to do with me? Right. Like, that's the way they think. Yeah. And until they were forced to see it, like with a George Floyd situation, and you're watching this man beg for his life, then it's like, oh, dang, this is kind of messed up. Okay, that's a little bit too much. But as long as it's just on the news and you hear about it and you got a little 3-second video, we don't know what happened before the end, and it's minutes or hours that didn't get shown. So I said all that to say, like, because of all of that, I wasn't surprised. Because it's just like a baby when you don't get your way. Like, I've had a small child before. You have small children. When they don't get their way, what do they do?
They throw fits.
They throw temper tantrums and hissy fits. And I saw your wife had posted a picture of the twins. Yeah. And so, like, one of them was mad in the picture. And so, like, you can see in the picture that, like, I'm going to show you that I'm not happy right now because I don't really want to be in this picture. I don't want to be in the picture by myself, whatever the thing was. But it's like, I'm going to let you know I'm not happy right now. And that's what it was. It's like, you're not happy. You didn't get your way. So now you got to throw a temper tantrum.
Yeah, and that's, like I said, I think most of the people that I saw on my timeline, I think immediately, which I think too, with us being black, the race part, automatically resonates. You know what I'm saying? Because it's clear, like, whatever side you're on, whatever, if you think more conservatively, or you're more liberal, like, if black folks rushed up in there, it would have been Armageddon.
And we didn't have to rush. Like, you saw what happened. We were just standing there.
Right. And so,
you know what I'm saying? You got guns, and like the picture with the guy with the child on the shoulder, and they got the gun pointed, at them. Right. You know what I'm saying? But, like, these people real live, and all I would ask anybody, if somebody ran up on your property, or at your house, like, what would you do to them? If you're at your crib and somebody come trying to break in and take pictures with all your stuff and put their feet up on your, you know what I'm saying, on your desk, lay in the bed that you and your wife are like, what you gonna do?
Are you gonna handle business?
And so, to me, that was a failure of the Secret Service. That was a failure of the police. That was a failure of the National Guard. Like, and I got a guy brother that's a police officer. I got a guy brother that's in the military. I got some homeboys I keep with that's in the military. And so I'm not speaking for them as individuals, but as a whole, like, y'all got punked out. Yeah. Y'all basically let somebody. It's almost equivalent to you being in a room with your wife. You let somebody come in there on your honeymoon and put it on your wife and slap you in the face and call you a bitch and then walk out and you do nothing.
Right.
Like, that's what happened.
Yeah. And that's, to my point, that's like, to me, that's what happened. But to me, also, I'm of the belief that that's what they wanted to happen. Like, that's what I think. I honestly think most of it was scheduled or planned, and how that stuff went down. Like, that's what I believe. I think because, for one, if you ever been to Washington D.C. or in the capital area, like, even just on regular days or something like that, the security is pretty thick. You know what I'm saying? It's pretty, they have a lot of people around there. But just
No, you're not lying, because when I was a kid, ran about EJ them age, like, we lived up there.
Yeah.
So prior to us moving back to Memphis, like, I had been to Smithsonian, I had been to the White House, I had been to just that whole area, seeing all the monuments, the Lincoln Memorial, the Washington Monument,
Mm-hmm.
the Vietnam Memorial. Like, we had been there like 4 or 5 times.
Mm.
By the time I was like 8, like, that was with school, like, little family trip, like, we go where you can schedule just a tour and all that. Like,
Right.
we had done that because we were there,
Mm-hmm.
so we had access to it. And that security was thick then.
Mm-hmm.
I was a kid. I'm good and grown now.
Right.
And so after 9/11, after all of these different things that has happened and all of that, like, I know security has
The
increased.
people there was expecting at least close to 1 million people there just before the weekend started. That week started. That's what they were expecting. So you can only, you know what I'm saying? Like, to me, it was just so convenient in how everything went down. And so, for me, I think it hits, black and brown people twice. I think I had a conversation with my homies, Brian and a couple of McDade. We were just talking through the text and stuff. It was like, I think, well, I just do believe that they're killing 2 birds with 1 stone, just because on the flip side, if those were, black people doing that, they're going to physically harm us or physically kill us. You know what I'm saying? And so now, when it comes to this, they're going to let these other people in, and now to ramp up our emotions, to ramp up,
Because they want us to do something.
this race conversation. Now, oh, you going to let these white people in, da 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 da.
They want us to do something.
And so now, we're clearly going to take, quote unquote, well, most of us clearly take the liberal side on this, because this is, quote unquote, what the other folks are doing, what the conservative people are doing, because we're trying to kick out Trump. And so now, so we should be more in cahoots with the liberal people, but they don't care about us either.
So would you consider yourself liberal or conservative?
Conservative. For me, I would say I'm more conservative in my approach, in mindset, as far as the platforms go. So when I say the killing 2 birds with 1 stone, I think legislation wise, the liberals push more with the socialism stuff, and they push more in that vein. So I don't, like I said, I think they would kill you personally if there was some black folk, but then they try to get your emotions ramped up. Because for me, like, from my perspective, I think it was some fishy stuff going on as far as being set up like they did. You know what I'm saying? So in doing that, because they know what gets us as in black people. You know what I'm saying? We'll talk about race in a minute. You know what I'm saying? In which all those parts are true. You know what I'm saying? But now it's like, we're going to, catch you with that. You know what I'm saying? Catch you with, now you're pushed to the wall. Now you see what they did, because they were what, Trump supporters. You know what I'm saying? Some of them at least. And so, so now it's that side. So now we're totally against them. We're against them anyway. But now it's just full out war, period. So now we're going to push y'all more into this other regime, which is coming up, which is Biden and Harris. And so, to me, like I said, it's a kill either way. They're going to kill you physically or try to kill us with legislation that's not meant, you know what I'm saying, to, well, at least favor us, at least as believers. I don't want to just put all on black people, but
yeah. I mean, like, with me, where I'm at. Like, I don't rock with any one of them niggas. But,
yeah,
because, again, conservative people have, from the standpoint of especially talking about faith in God, but, like, it's stuff like that
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? It's not. So don't talk to me about what your supposed values are, because 99 of your other actions are not that.
Right.
I don't see any, and it's almost like how when Jesus told, the Pharisees, like, oh, y'all say the right thing, but y'all ain't got no love in your heart.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? And so that's ultimately what it boils down. I mean, y'all sound real good. You ain't got no love in your heart. You have no empathy. You have no sympathy. You have no compassion. You have no real justice. You have no real equality. You don't show any of that, but you say all the right stuff. No, I can't fool with that. Your actions speak way louder than your words. Then with the liberals, I feel like the way Jesus gave his parable where he talked about a father had two sons. The first son, he asked him, could he help him? The first son was like, no, I can't. You know what I'm saying? Like, I ain't going to be able to do it. And then he ended up helping him later on. It's like the second son, though, was like, oh, I got you. I'm with you. Yeah, let's go. I got you, Pops. But when it came time, he never showed up. Right. That's what liberals are to me. You know what I'm saying? Like, liberals will use our votes. They will use our pain. They will use the things that we go through. But when it all boils down, once the rubber meets the road, they end up screwing us just as bad as the conservatives have. Right. And so, like, I've compared it with the fox and the wolf before. Right. Both of them gonna eat my chickens up. Right. It's just one of them look better playing with my dog and my cat and the other animals in the yard. But the fox is still, which is the liberals, even though the other animals on my farm are more comfortable with the fox. When he get hungry, he gonna eat my chickens up. Right. I know the wolf is gonna eat my chickens up, which is the conservatives. I know what you gonna do ultimately. Right. You know what I'm saying? So,
and for me, I was having a conversation with my sister. Like, this is it's a subject for me that's it's not even touchy, man, because I've had plenty of arguments over the years on my Facebook page.
I thought you were going to say with Corey.
well, not even Corey. Corey is Mr. Republican. He's
I know. That's what I'm saying. That's why you said arguments. I thought, you was going to say with him.
Yeah. Well, we've had a few, but we kind of
my favorite Republican.
Yeah. So, but we lean toward the same side on most issues. But my thing is this: I don't necessarily rock with either one. If you want to just get down to it, but just if you go to a voting booth and they like, you know what I'm saying, you got to pick one, Democrat or Republican. You know what I'm saying? Like, between you, put your back on that wall. But my thing is like, for me, even I asked the Lord years ago, because I struggled with tithing some years ago when I was trying to really mature and do some stuff like that. Like, I really was inquiring of the Lord and like, asking him, like, is this real? Like, should we, really be doing this? You know what I'm saying? Like, I want to listen to any cliches from church, my pastor, or anything. I wanted to hear from him. I wanted to hear for myself, you know what I'm saying, what should we be doing in regards to this? And so I did study, did my due diligence, and I got my answer. Like, tithing is real. Like, it's benefited me. It's helped me, over many years. You know what I'm saying? So, but I got that straight from the throne myself. And another thing when I was maturing was the whole political thing, because I never really got into politics. I went to TSU. Shout out to Tigers Nashville, fam within that. And, my first year in 2000, they got a group of us all together. We went to go vote for the first time. At least for me, I did. Well, most of the first time. I was 18. We went Robert Street. That was the Al Gore race. Al Gore and Bush. You know what I'm saying? And so I didn't question anything. We going to vote for Gore. You know what I'm saying?
They're still finding them ballots in the Florida swamp.
Right. So, we did that. So that was my first experience. But I didn't really care. That's what it was. But as I kept maturing in my faith and kept inquiring, and like the Lord was, just, talking to me and really pointing some things out in the Word and stuff. And so when I actually got more serious about politics as far as its place in the earth and how we, maneuver, okay, that's when he started to, break some stuff down to me. And so that's when I kind of started to question, just black folks always just gun-ho being about, the Democratic Party. And so my thing is, you said you picking between two evils, which is true, because like I said, both the sides are kind of trash when you look at from different lenses, different perspectives. But I
mean, what have either one of y'all really done for people who look like me.
Right.
We still have not gotten reparations.
Yeah.
Which is what we were supposed to get back in 1865. Yeah. We still have not gotten that.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Like it's either the 14th or the 15th Amendment that gave us the right to vote. Mm-hmm. Why would you need to pass the Civil Rights Bill in 1964, I believe, if we already got that right to vote? Which I think is the 15th Amendment, maybe. The 14th or 15th. Because I want to say the 13th Amendment supposedly freed the slaves, and then it's either 14th or the 15th. But between 13, 14, and 15, one of them was like, the black men got the right to vote. Right. Why would we need to pass the Voting Rights Act and the Civil Rights Act of 1964 if we 100 years ago was and that's why Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. when he gave us speech said, be true to what you said on paper. We supposed to already had the right to vote. Right. But y'all let Jim Crow come. So again, been screwed. Redlining, gentrification, been screwed. Think about it, they call it the projects. Because that's exactly what it was. It was a project. If we put these rats in a maze, let's see what happens to them. Right. Y'all put us in there. Housing projects. It's a project. Let's see what happens. Consistently screwing me. What have either one of y'all done for me? For the Democrats who constantly ask for our votes, and we're going to do this the New Deal and all this stuff way back when, English makes history minor. So I was studying all of that stuff. All of these politicians from Woodrow Wilson to Coolidge to Roosevelt, like all of them making promises that did not get kept. And so again, when I look at it, and then so now let's not even deal with the reparations. Although we could talk about how the Italians in Louisiana that were getting killed back in the, I believe it's late 1800s, they got reparations. The Asian Americans during World War II that got put in those internment camps because Japan was one of the people that we were fighting, they got reparations.
Jews?
The Jews got reparations. Like, well, I mean, and I don't even say over here, I know they got it from Germany, but I know the Italians over here got it. Indians got, they don't pay taxes. Right. You know what I'm saying? And can attend college for free. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? So, granted, don't replace your land and all the lives that was lost, but hey, I would deal with not having to pay taxes and going to college. Man, I'd stay going to college. Right. We got nothing. The police brutality that we face, it's no legislation that has been passed to help us deal with that. There is no prosecution that is taking place against us being unjustly and unfairly treated. And I got homeboys and my guy were police officers that have been harassed by police. Shouldn't have to say I'm a police officer for you to treat me right. And they've had to do that. They have to show their badge or say, this is my badge on. Yeah. So again, I look at it like, man, none of y'all been righteous. Right. And like, so my position on it from a spiritual perspective, Old Testament, when Israel wanted a king, God said, y'all don't need a king. Y'all got me. So that was God's position on it. What are y'all trying to be like everybody else for? Mm-hmm. And he's like, okay, I'm going to give y'all a king. And every single one they had screwed up. Mm-hmm. From Saul to David to Solomon and you go on down the line. Everybody that you think is righteous, all of them did something that, like, specifically God said don't do. Mm-hmm. Not a little subtle, like, okay, yeah, I'm married, I look at other women, or I drink too much, or like, specifically God said, hey, don't do this right here. Specifically, you, don't do that. Mm-hmm. And they did that. And then New Testament, like, when you look at, when they were trying to replace Judas, what they do? They kind of voted on between two other people to take his place. When you ever hear about dude again in the Bible? Yeah. That's the only one. Right. Everybody else, you know what I'm saying, is mentioned, like, you hear stuff they did, or, you know what I'm saying? His name mentioned one time. Yeah. Because that was not who God chose. Like, that was what they chose. Right. And so, from a spiritual perspective, for me, and this is why, like, a lot of people was mad at Jesus. This is why Judas was mad at Jesus. He thought Jesus was going to come overthrow the government. Mm-hmm. And he's like, I didn't come for that. Mm-hmm. I don't care nothing about that. That's not what I'm here for. That's not my position.
Now, I wouldn't say he didn't care about it, though.
No, not like he cared about it in the sense that he cared about their lives. He cared about their souls. He cared about us praying for them. He cared about us obeying the laws of the land. Because like when he said with the taxes, who pays on the corner of Caesar? Give to Caesar what belongs to Caesar. Give to God what belongs to God. But in terms of being involved in all of it, he didn't care nothing about that. Because it's too much other stuff going on. It's too many. It's people hurting. It's people who don't have food. It's people who don't have clothes. It's people who need deliverance and healing. That's what I'm on.
Right. That was his
mission. Right. Not the pulling of the strings and playing with people's lives like Man Real and what the old Temptation song, vote for me and I'll set you free.
Yeah.
Rap on like that old Temptation song, like. And that was really why Judas was mad. When you look up what Iscariot means, it means son of carry-out. He was the equivalent, and you see I got my shirt on, but he was the equivalent of like what we would say Black Panther or Black Lives Matter. That's what he was on. So Iscariot wasn't his last name. It was like Judas from Black Lives Matter or Judas the Black Panther or Judas the whatever. That was what, and if you think about it, he's the only one who had something associated with his name. Everybody else was just them. He's the only one that had Judas and then who he was, but the Iscariot was to let you know that was what he was on. Right. He thought, and that was why he brought all them Roman soldiers. He thought, okay, so when they come to get you, now you finna have to show who you are. You finna have to turn up, and we finna start the revolution tonight. And when he saw who Jesus was, it was like, oh, that was what made him go back and give them money back. That was what made him have remorse about what he did, because he finally realized what Jesus was saying. This ain't why I came. And so for me, from a spiritual perspective, and this is just me personally, I don't impose that on anybody else. The Bible says whatever's not of faith is a sin. So it was a time when I was involved in a lot of stuff, and I did that in faith. But as I grew despondent and apathetic towards it, because I was just seeing the disappointment in people who I got behind, who I supported, I couldn't do it in faith anymore. And so then as I began, and this me as an individual, as I began to get in the Word and just look at it, over time, it's just like, okay, I'm seeing Old Testament, New Testament. This is what it, both of them line. So for me as an individual, that's where I'm at. But at the end of the day, whoever's in there, I ain't stopped paying my taxes. I ain't stopped praying every morning when I pray. When I'm on my way to work, when I pray, and I pray, like I pray for you. I pray for my parents. I pray for my family. I pray for my friends, for people I love. I pray for them. I pray for my daughter. But I also pray for her country. I also pray for who's in office, regardless of whether I cast a ballot for you or not, because I respect the position of the office. However, understand, at the end of the day, God did ordain the office just like he ordained supervisors and managers and bosses and all of that. He ordained that office. However, I realize that most of the people who are in those positions don't feel the same way I do.
And I think you got to do your due diligence as far as like, even when you look at, even in the Bible, like many of the people that got in trouble when the three Hebrew boys went into the fire and stuff like that, those were political matters. Like because those were the laws of the land. They were persecuting them because of who they believed, who they were praying to.
I mean, but why did they get ready to try to kill them though?
Because they didn't do what the king.
No, it wasn't just about it wasn't just about the law of the land. It was about their faith. They were trying to.
But they were getting persecuted, within that. But my whole reasoning is within that, because anything that you look in the word, it was done. Governments were overturning people. They were persecuting the believers in the one living God and stuff. And so even within that, like if you don't want to vote, like I said, that's your thing. But I think it's our righteous duty to do that. Like in how you do that, because those things will end up persecuting those people that you want to call.
But what I would say is that no matter who it was, because I've been through all of them and I've been persecuted every time, directly or indirectly.
Right, but you did what you had to do though.
Right. No, I mean, and I did, but then when I saw it, it's like, okay, so you gonna rock with Lucifer or you gonna rock with the demons? And right with neither one of them. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, so at the end of the day, and this is just, again, it's me as an individual. Like, if God really got me, it don't matter what's going on over there. I don't really care who's over there.
Right.
And if you read the script, like the persecution over, even if it's somebody who say,
so do you have a right to do you have a right to complain then if you don't vote?
I don't complain.
Do you have a right to even speak on anything governmental if you don't vote?
Yes.
Huh?
I used to think no, but yes.
No,
okay, so let me ask you something. Your kids don't vote. Do they have a right to complain?
No.
And I mean, I'm not saying like it's sick, but like when they get 10, 12 and they see stuff ain't going right, they have a right to complain. Because right is right and wrong is wrong.
They don't, no.
Okay, so if they're watching the news or something, and when they get old enough, if it's another, God forbid, if it's another George Floyd situation and nothing is done, and they were watching it, they don't have a right to complain about the laws and the legislation because they didn't vote.
They don't.
That don't make sense.
Because first of all, they're not old enough to really even to do anything about the process. And so if you're not even old enough to do that, you know what I'm saying? You're kind of just caught in that you can't really complain anything because pretty much your parents are running things.
And what I will say is I've been involved in not only presidential votes but local, state, and I've been involved in all of that. So being that I have experience in that, it's just like when you watch those analysts on basketball and football, they still talk basketball and football when they're not playing anymore.
Right.
But and there's a lot of them who talk it that ain't never touched the field or the court.
Yeah.
But they know the sport though. They're familiar with the sport.
Right.
They spent time in it, so they're able to discuss it because Stephen A., outside of when he played in college, ain't played after his freshman or sophomore year in college, ain't played basketball no more.
Right.
But he still gets paid big money to talk about it. Because he has years of experience in researching it and studying it and learning it and being around it. So again, so that's why I say, and that was what made, because I used to say, if you don't vote, you ain't got a reason. You can't say nothing. And I was one of the first ones line early vote, did all of that. But as over time, and just, again with me researching and studying it, and so it's like if I'm watching what's going on, what I've learned is whether I do it or not, I still have to deal with the consequences of it. So if I'm going through something, if you're forcing me to go through it, whether I volunteer to go through it or I'm going through it just because I'm in this country, I have a right to say something about it because I'm going through it. Even if so like my kids, if they have to go through something because I screwed up, even though they may not have given no money for it or say, yeah, Dad, let's do that, they got a right to feel some type of way because they got to experience it. They got to live through it. And so what I'm saying is, because think about it, like a lot of people who have committed felonies and they've changed some of the laws, but they can't vote. So they can't say nothing.
Mm-hmm.
Because again, they don't like, so my thing is like,
that's a law that keeps them from voting.
But what I'm saying is, so for everybody who didn't vote for Trump, well, you didn't vote for Trump, so the only people really who should be complaining are the people who voted for Trump. Because that's your one.
Just vote period, though.
But that's your one, though. So if the person that you said, I'm supporting you,
right?
If they're not doing what you said you could do by reasoning of that, then that person got a right to complain. The person who voted for the other guy shouldn't be able to say nothing because you didn't vote for that guy.
No, but you're part of the process, though.
Or flip it the other way around.
You cast your ticket.
If you voted for the other guy, you should be able to complain. But if you voted for the person, you shouldn't be able to say nothing because that's who you voted for. So you don't have a right to say anything because that's what you wanted.
No, because things change. Everything is not, black and white. When somebody gets in office, they're gonna do a lot of stuff you don't like, some stuff you do like. So it's, you know what I'm saying? Like, if you're part of the process, if you're part of the conversation, then I'm like, you can participate or you can complain about that.
Just put it like this: have you ever complained at a job before?
Think about that.
I mean, I'm just saying, whether it be a rule or a standard that they have at a job. Have you ever said, like, man, this is some BS, man? Like, why you gotta do this? You weren't there when they got ready to make the rule or the standard of the law. But it affects you. So you say something about the job, what they do, it ain't right, it ain't fair, because you're experiencing that.
But I work for the company.
Even exactly. We live in this country. We are citizens. You are born a citizen of this country.
And citizens vote.
And no.
That's how we get things done.
But we have a right to do it or not do it.
You have that right.
And so, exactly. But what I'm saying is, whether I vote for the person or not, I still benefit or suffer, whether I vote for the person or not. Whether I say I'm putting my ballot behind you and I'm entrusting you, or I'm entrusting the other guy, or you know what, both of y'all crazy, I'm gonna pass this time. Regardless, when it all boils down, whoever's in there, the laws, the legislation that's passed from Congress, the Senate, President, executive orders, and all that, you still have to experience that. So if I'm experiencing something, because again, I can vote for you, or I can just vote, period. But if you're putting me through something that I don't co-sign, hold up, no, I don't like that, I should be able to say something because I'm experiencing it. But so should the other guy who didn't have. And again, like, our kids have to go through stuff, and our kids should be able to say, man, this is some crap.
Right.
Even though they can't, right until they turn 18.
That's why everybody says the voting is so vital, because we're basically voting for them. We're voting to how we're gonna, condition this, how this world is gonna be conditioned moving forward for them. So that's why it's so important for us to even try to cast a ballot, because not only we're voting for us, but we're voting, for our child that can't vote right now and that's young enough but can't really do anything about it. So now we have to take in consideration for them. Like, my thing, if you're part of the process, no matter who you vote for, even if you voted independent or whatever, you're part of the process. So now, you know what I'm saying, when you go, for me, this is what I believe, that now, okay, whatever it is, you go through whatever, now God, you know what I'm saying, has to vouch for that for you. You're not going to go through as much hell as the next person, because now you did your duty. Now you voted or whatever. You voted for the person, he's not even in office, but you're part of the process now. And so now, if you actually go about, you know what I'm saying, calling your congressman, doing X, Y, and Z, and doing that stuff, if you really care about it, you know what I'm saying, that process, I believe, will go more smoothly, just because you're part of the process. You're not just sitting back and didn't do anything, and now you want to say X, Y, and Z, but that really didn't matter, because you weren't a part of the process anyway.
But this is what I'm saying, though, JB, and I want you to look at it from this perspective. It's just like when I talked earlier about the George Floyd, what happened with him. It's a lot of people who never went through that.
Yeah.
Who don't know what that's like. But because they saw it and said this is wrong, they had an issue with that. But a lot of people were saying, well, you ain't never go through that, so why you got a problem with it? That ain't your reality, why you got something to say? And that was what a lot of people who don't look like us was saying to the people who was like marching and doing all that. Why you doing that? You ain't never go through that. You don't get treated like that. What's the big deal? You don't even know what he did. Like, and that's the thought process. Because you didn't go through this, you shouldn't be able to say anything. But the deal is that right is right and wrong is wrong. I'm not talking about every single issue, how somebody tie their tie or whatever. But I'm saying, if somebody in an authoritative position does something wrong, or they're doing things that hurt me, and I have to experience it, I should be able to say that this is some trash, that this is some crap, whether I went through the process or not. But again, that's what complaining is, though. When you're voicing your opinion about something that you disagree with or something that you don't like, that's what complaining is.
Right. But to say something that you don't like it.
But what I'm saying is that if I'm affected by it, and so again, we went through this, whether we was in school, whether you were on a team, whether you worked a job. We went to schools where they had, like I know a lot of kids, like when we went to school, like wasn't no uniform. But I know it's a lot of kids who don't like it. But they wasn't there to do that. But do they not have a right to say something because they're the ones that have to wear the uniform?
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? Like our parents felt some type of way, and we was thinking back then, like, y'all not even in school now. Why do you care? Mm-hmm. But again, they the ones who buy our clothes.
Right.
They're affected by it. They got a right to say something about it, even though they're not
something about this stuff, though.
You
can talk to your local people. You can go to the region. You can go to the Fed and talk to these people to get stuff done. Like, this is not, okay, this is gone way back. Like, there's ways to go about it, but you have to be a part of the process in order to do it.
When you pray for certain things, not everything, but when you pray for certain things, do you pray for them because they're not going right or because everything is going right?
You said some things.
Yeah, just certain, not everything. Some things you pray for just because you believe them, but certain things you pray for because they're not going right. You would agree with that, right?
Yeah, because you want to answer.
And so what I'm saying is, if I'm praying for somebody, that means it's certain things that I'm seeing that I'm acknowledging that it's not right. And that's all I'm saying.
Right.
I should be able to say, just like if I see one of my homeboys doing something to his kids or his wife, ain't my kids, ain't my wife. It don't affect me one way or the other.
Right.
I wasn't there when you got down on one of your proposed. Like, I don't sleep in the bed with y'all, but I still, because if I'm there with you, now if I don't know you, I may not be able to jump into this situation.
Okay.
But if I break bread with you, if you know my kids know you, and my kids play with your kids, so I'm affected by the things you do, or we in business together.
Right.
I can say something to you, even though a lot of people say that ain't your business. You don't have a right to say nothing. But if I'm invested, if I'm affected by it, which means if we break relationship off, that's gonna affect my kids. That's gonna affect my wife because she's friends with you. Like, you see what I'm saying? I should be able to say something, and that's all I'm saying. Whether or not you participate in the process of that, at the end of the day, if you're doing something that affects me, I should be able to say that that's not right. That's not fair. That's not, because still, even whether I voted for you or not, it's like Barack said it best, you're everybody's president. Whether you voted for me or not, you're everybody's president. So if you're doing something, I should be like, hey, now, because I pray for you, because I respect your office, whether I participate in it or not, because I still will address you as Mr. President or President Trump or President Obama or President whoever, because I respect you in that way.
Right.
Okay, I'm giving you your due. I pray for you. I do what I'm supposed to do. So if you're doing something that affects me that ain't right, can't nobody say, oh, you ain't got no leg to stand on because you didn't vote, but you're still my president though. Right. It ain't like, okay, well, you didn't vote, so whoever you want to be your president, you don't have to adhere to none of these laws and everything like that because you didn't participate. So you're free to do whatever you want to do over here. No, I still got to pay taxes.
Right.
I still gotta give you your regard. Like, I can't just walk in the White House because I didn't vote. Like, I still gotta adhere to all the laws and stuff. So I have,
with me and you, like, who are we accountable to?
God ultimately.
Right. We're ultimately accountable to God. Just me and him. You know what I'm saying? Personally, anybody else, that's not what you do. Whatever. How I look at it is, like we say, oh, God got me. You know what I'm saying? Da 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 da. God got me. So how I look at it is, okay, for example, if me and my wife have discord or strife in our family, in our house, and, I don't want to get a divorce. I want to continue to strive. I want to be married and stuff. Okay. And so, but now, I'm accountable to God. So I have to put a foot forward. I have to be a part of the process in order for, that this thing to work. If I'm going to be like, the hell with it, you know what I'm saying? Like, if I'm accountable to God, it's like, okay, well, son, you never put your friend, you wasn't part of the process. You didn't try to do anything. You know what I'm saying? You didn't try to salvage anything. You didn't try to keep a cooler head. You know what I'm saying? You weren't part of that process. All you did was just, hey, that's on her, da 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 da. But okay, but the Lord sees that you're part of the process. He sees that you're trying to put your best foot forward to make this marriage work. Now, it's all in God's hand now. It's like, okay, Lord, like, I'm a part of this process. Okay. You know what I'm saying? What's up? You know what I'm saying? He gonna take care of me. You know what I'm saying? Or me or you, regardless.
And,
you know
I get what you're saying in that part of it, but again, that's what I'm saying. when you work just like I work.
Mm-hmm.
When you get your check, what's taken out of there all the time?
Taxes.
So
medical benefits, all that stuff.
But nah, like even if you wasn't getting no benefits taken, they taxing you.
Right.
You don't have a choice.
Right.
So guess what? You always got a right to say something. Because you pay his salary, whether you want to or not. If you're working, you pay for him to be in there, whether you voted for him or not. Whoever's in there, you voted for them. The firefighters, the police officers, guess what? Whether you want the chief to be the chief or whoever, you're paying his salary. When you work and they take them taxes out, you're paying for them. Them roads that you drive on, you pay for them. Them street lights that's out there, you pay for them. So guess what? If something affects you, you're paying for it, whether you want to or not. Those inmates, they're supposed to be in there for rehabilitation. Guess what? They getting raped and how they be working them and don't be paying them, but they still paying for it. Mm-hmm. So guess what? Because whether I want to or not, I'm still funding you. I have a right to say something. And because I don't have a choice. You have put me in a position where I don't have a choice. It ain't like, okay, well, you know what? You didn't vote for me, so you ain't got to pay taxes. You ain't got to adhere to no laws. You can speed. You can steal stuff at a store. You don't have to adhere to none of these laws. Like, no, if I commit a crime, I am still held to the standards of the laws of this land, of the United States of America, because I live over here. I'm a citizen over here. And even if I wasn't a citizen, you try to kill somebody.
Stuff, you vote for that stuff.
No,
right?
But what I'm saying, no, even if you don't vote for it, you ain't got to vote for the death penalty. If you live in a state where it's a death penalty, guess what? You're affected by that, whether you voted for it or not.
Right, but who are we accountable to?
Okay, again, you're talking about being accountable to God, but what I'm saying is that because I am in a country that I have to pay taxes for whether I want to or not.
Right.
And that I'm funding the president, I'm funding the police, I'm funding the firefighters, I'm funding the paving of roads and the street lights and things like that. Mm-hmm. I'm paying for this stuff. If I work a job, I am paying for this stuff. Mm-hmm. If I've ever worked any job, I'm paying because they're going to take them taxes out whether you want it or not. You don't want to get hit with an audit. Mm-hmm. So if I'm paying you, you tell me you pay for somebody to do something. You pay for somebody to fix your roof or to fix your plumbing or to paint your house. You mean to tell me that because you didn't physically go out there and buy the paint, or you ain't with the company, you can't tell him how to paint your walls or how to fix your roof? You paying him.
Right. Now getting to if you're talking about,
even if that's the end, but
you're talking about taxes, you can vote on that stuff. But even you can get people out that actually affects that stuff.
But this is what I'm saying is that even if you do, and I have. Okay, but I'm not talking about the rate of it. I'm talking about period. I get taxed every time I get paid. Why do I have to file every year?
Those are the laws of the land.
No, exactly my point. But what I'm saying is it doesn't make any sense. You hit me every time I get a paycheck. Okay. Why do I have to file at the end of the year? You already taken it out. And in some cases, depending on how much money you make, I got to pay you more.
Yeah.
So the fact that
if you have a real problem with that,
is what I'm saying though.
Then you need to vote about
every
it.
Every president, and again, we talk that's on the state level and the local level. Yeah. They got nothing to do with the executive level.
We can go local.
But this is what I'm saying. But this is what I'm saying. Even if I did vote on the state and executive on the local level, ain't got nothing to do with the president. He ain't gonna say stop paying taxes. That's how he get paid. Right. Now he might say pay less taxes, but ultimately he gets paid for life.
Right. He do.
When Donald Trump leave office, he ain't got to never sell no other real estate, make no more hotels, sell no more of his steaks, do another Celebrity Apprentice. He gonna get a check for the rest of his life because he was president. Every senator, governor, like all the people that's in the legislative branch of government, get paid for life.
Right.
We are paying them.
Right.
So if I never vote again, I'm paying you. You get to live off of my labor that if I die, they're going to replace me tomorrow. So I have a right to say something because you're working for me, whether I vote for you, whether I want you to or not. You're being paid by me. You don't have a job. You don't have a living if it ain't for me.
That's a law of the
And
land.
that's all I'm saying. And I'm not saying that it's
Yeah.
not the law of the land. At the end of the day, I'm still paying you.
Right.
Whether that's the law or not, I'm still paying you.
Right. So what, you have an issue with that?
No, I don't. But what I'm saying is that because I am paying you, I got a right to comment on anything I see. Because guess what? Whether you want to or not, whether I voted for you or not, you working for me.
Right.
Every time I clock in, every time I show up at my job, you getting paid.
Right.
So if I see something that right, I can say
you
something.
can comment on it, but that don't make
Okay,
it valid.
but the comment or complaint, it don't make it valid because you did vote.
It does because
No, it doesn't.
Because I'm part of the process.
What difference do it make? You're still, they working for
A
you
lot
too.
because again, we're accountable to God.
So basically, okay, again,
So
does the scripture tell you to vote?
huh?
Does the scripture tell you to vote?
The scripture says get into the government process.
No, it does not.
It does.
It doesn't.
It does.
It does not. It says pray for the leaders. It does
Pray.
not say vote.
No.
And that's all I'm saying.
It don't say vote.
And I pray for my leaders. I pray for Trump. I pray for President Obama and Vice President Biden when he was there. I pray for Bush and Vice President Cheney when he was in there. I pray for all of them.
Right.
I pray for Israel. I pray that no terrorism attacks the United States of America, as well as no terrorism attacks Israel.
Mm-hmm.
I pray for the governments of other countries.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so I'm still involved in the process. Just because I don't want to get into the rock, paper, scissors of who's going to get in there, I'm still involved in the process. But when I was in the process, I was praying. When I'm not in the process, because what I see is that when I was involved in the rock, paper, scissors, it didn't matter. It didn't matter.
It didn't affect me either way. My thing is,
Okay, so let me ask you something. So when we know where we at on the factor. As a black man, what has Trump done for you? As a black man, as an individual black man, what has he done for you?
individual from nothing.
Okay, what did President Obama do for you as an individual black man?
Nothing.
What did President Bush do for you as an individual black man?
Nothing.
Let's even go back to before we could even. What did President Clinton do for us to advance us? And we can go all the way back. Even President Lincoln with the Emancipation Proclamation, it supposedly freed the slaves. However, the South had seceded from the Union. So effectively, it did nothing because the South said we're separating ourselves from the North. Did nothing. So I cannot name a president that has been elected that we have voted for, that our parents and our grandparents voted for. And I had my grandmother, my great aunt, and her husband, my dad, they marched back in the 1968 sanitation worker strike. They helped organize that march. I come from protesters and marchers.
Right.
I got to sit down and listen to how they organize and set that stuff up here. And again, nobody can tell me what anybody has done anything for me. The definition of insanity is you continually do something over and over again and you expect something different to happen. And so we, our parents, our grandparents, all of us have been consistently, repeatedly doing the same thing over and over again. And we think in 4 years something different will happen. It's not. And so then I'm still speaking for me as an individual,
Right.
because I refuse to be insane.
Mhm.
So, and that's just me.
Right.
And I'm not telling nobody else what to do. I'm not trying to get nobody baptized. Nobody comes to the other side. You have to do what you are comfortable and where you have peace about doing. And for me, it was frustrating for me that I consistently, I'm over here, I'm campaigning. I was a part of organizations. I've been involved with stuff within the city. You know what I'm saying? Like, and I ain't talking about speculative or, no, I got documentation.
Mhm.
I got photos where you see me in pictures where I was doing stuff with my dad and organizations that he was a part of and thinking I'm really doing something. And then when you get behind the curtain, you see all these folks shaking hands together. But you talking this good game over here, but you working with these same people that you was bad mouthing and thing, and y'all golfing buddies. Y'all friends at the end of the day.
Mhm.
So you playing with my life like it ain't real. So you know what? Y'all do what y'all. I'm going to pray for both of y'all. But now when I see something that ain't right, and I see you, if I'm talking to somebody, I'm going to say, hey, you know what? That right there that you did, that's foul. Don't matter whether I co-sign you or not. Right is right and wrong is wrong.
Mhm.
And I've been involved in political organizations and city organizations and nonprofit organizations. And I've had to go to people who was in authority and leaders and say, hey, you know what? you foul, you're a snake. And whether I agree with you or not, whether I co-sign you or not, I can speak on that.
Mm-hmm.
And that's all I'm saying.
Yeah, I mean,
I'm not saying
you can speak on whatever that you want to.
That's all I was saying. I'm
right.
not saying
right.
that. But what I'm also saying is that I'm not more valid than somebody else, because when you think about that, that's the same thing that Jesus was saying about the Pharisees. Y'all think that y'all more valid than these people because you practice certain stuff, or because you got this particular position, or because you got this title and you think you're better. Jesus said the last gonna be first and the first gonna be last. You think you special because you got this title, this position. You really not. It's better to have somebody elevate you than you to walk in like you're important to be put down. And that's all I'm like that. That's all I'm saying. Like, that's the same mentality that the Pharisees had. I'm better than you because I got this title, or because I grew up in this particular household, or because I did all these practices and everything, and you didn't do all these practices, so you can't speak on what I'm on because you didn't do all that I've done. And Jesus said, that don't matter.
What they got to do with voting, though?
Again, so you're better than me. You can say something about and again,
hold on.
You
We've
can say something.
We've been talking 5 minutes now. Look, what I'm saying is voting. Period. You're just a part of the process. Not anybody can vote. It's not a exclusive club to be like, oh well, you know da 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 da. It's more so of whether you just do it or not. What now? The ex-con laws and prison laws. That's a whole nother situation because
I'm not talking about voting on laws, though, JB. We're talking about voting for a person,
right? Which help make laws and build laws. That's from a local level. You know what I'm saying? Like the city council and stuff like that. Like from those people, like the local level stuff. That's where real change happens. Like if you want to talk about the president or whatever, I think it's a figurehead type of situation with the president. But just voting, period. Like even from the local level, that's where stuff really gets done. You know what I'm saying? That's how, the stuff that happened in Ferguson, wouldn't happen because, the local legislation and laws within that allowed all that stuff to happen. You know what I'm saying? So if people got out and vote and actually put forth an effort to, vote for the people that, were more inclined to what you believed or wanted, then stuff would turn out better. You know what I'm saying? Like, and so even when I look at it, just like, we done went way too far over, but, just if you look at it, most of the drawn down cities and the crime infested stuff, man, they're run by Democrats. Chicago, Memphis, LA, like
but
all this stuff.
But when it was run by Republicans.
When was that?
What, in Memphis?
Yeah.
That ain't been that ain't been a long time. Like from when our parents was coming up.
That was in the 80s when Memphis was thriving. Before,
okay, but the murder rate amongst us wasn't down.
You sure about that?
Look it up.
I did.
What was it?
It's not where it is now. I don't know, but
you said you looked it up.
Yeah, but I'm saying as far as what it was, I don't know numbers, but I'm saying it was lower.
No, and again, all these people that's doing all this gentrification and stuff, who was all that? Man, Republicans, them Democrats that's moving us out of our neighborhoods that we grew up in. And Republicans doing it, and Democrats is doing it. All the redlining and stuff that still exists since we've been run by Democrats, they ain't watched the redlining. Like I'm looking at purchasing a house now. Like it's certain things that I have to go through now that if I had the complexion for the protection, I wouldn't have to go through.
Yeah.
But it's Democrats running it, and I don't have any felonies. You know what I'm saying? Like anybody would tell you, like I've been a good citizen. But I still have to go through stuff that if I was Caucasian or an immigrant, I would not have to go through.
I look at it as this, like I don't, get super spiritual or anything like that, but like the reason why like you said, you still pray for the president. The stuff have never affected me. Period. I'm constantly prospering and thriving because I'm part of the process. So if it is a loophole or something in a law that's, against me, so to speak, now, you know what I'm saying? now I can literally go in confidence to God and be like, look, I don't know, kind of what's going on, but look, XYZ, I done did my stuff. You can say you remind him, I pay my tithes, I do, whatever you want to say within that. And so now stuff always end up working out for those people. That's my belief. That's what I see
stuff work out for me
as an
too.
experience. So
It's worked out for me and I didn't.
What I'm saying is that if, like I said, if you don't, I get the other side of the people that do not want to vote, because I get it. You know what I'm saying? But it's just a matter of, like with anything, like you're married, you're going to get offended a lot. It's just a matter of when. You know what I'm saying?
I agree.
It's just a matter of when. So it's like, so you're going to take that offense and run with it, or you're going to take that offense and let it roll off your back.
But let me ask you something. You see me like on my social media, do I post a lot of political stuff and things like that?
Of course not.
Exactly. And you know why?
Of course not.
But you know why? Aside from me not being involved, not caring, because I wasn't involved in the process. So most of the time I keep my stuff to myself. Right. However, when I see something that's not right, and Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. said it best, injustice anywhere is a threat to justice everywhere.
Right.
He also, I don't want to misquote him, but he had another one in essence where he was saying the problem is not with the people who see something, it's with the people who see something and don't say something.
Mm-hmm.
And so, again, just because you weren't involved in the process, just because you didn't cast a ballot, just because you wasn't in line, if you see something that ain't right, if you're being mistreated or you see people that are marginalized being mistreated, all I'm saying is that regardless of whatever side of the line you stood on or if you even stood in line,
mm-hmm.
because that's the First Amendment, the freedom of speech.
Mm-hmm.
You got a right to say something.
Right.
Whether you're involved in it or not, you have a right to say something.
Mm-hmm.
And we talked about this on what is being taken away, because they, especially if you're a person of faith, they want to take it away. But you got a right to freedom of the press.
Mm-hmm.
And again, like they take stuff out of context all the time, but they got the freedom to print whatever they want.
Mm-hmm.
Especially if they reported on it, they got a right to print whatever they want. All I'm saying is that because we all live in this country, we're citizens of this country.
Mm-hmm.
If you're affected by the laws of this country, whether you voted for them or not, whether you agree with them or not, you are still affected by it. You're still held to the standard of them, whether you want them or not. Again, you could be driving on expressway. It could be no speed limit signs on it. And if you get pulled over for speeding and you say, I didn't see the sign, guess what? You still held accountable. You still are held accountable, whether you knew it was a sign or not. You still are held accountable. We're still held accountable to the laws of the land of the United States of America, whether we want to be or not. Our kids are held to those laws, even though they can't vote.
Mm-hmm.
So because we are citizens of this country, because we're held accountable to the laws of the land, because we still got to pay taxes, city and state, and in some cases county, depending on where you live.
Sure do.
All I was saying is that you have a right to voice your opinion, to voice your displeasure, complain, because you are held accountable to them, regardless of whether you were part of them or not. Mm-hmm. Now,
before you say anything else, and that's fine, and that's cool. But my thing is, for me, I don't talk about something or try to complain about something if I don't want a solution. You know what I'm saying? So if I say something, I'm not just going to say something just to say it. Be like, nah, I want something to change. You know what I'm saying? I want to do something about this. You know what I'm saying? Whatever that is. So I'm just not saying, I got a right to say something, but then now, okay, and a lot of this stuff we talked about, it's a God problem. Like it's only.
But again, to that point though, why should we have to vote on certain things if it's just wrong? If I steal from you, and you say, Shay, you stole from me, shouldn't have to be no elect. Like, okay, so what do y'all think? Did I take your property? Yes or no? If I did, ain't nothing to talk about. Stop stealing this stuff. If you do, suffer the consequences. That's it. And that's all I'm saying. It's like a lot of times, like you said, it is a God problem, but a lot of this stuff that goes on, like the stuff that we face as black people, is just right and wrong.
We didn't ask for reparations. Y'all said y'all was gonna give us reparations. Shouldn't be no vote. Y'all said 40 acres and a mule.
And all that stuff got to go through political channels.
But again, why, if that's what you said, and you put it on paper, you put just like a contract, and you know this, when you sign a contract at work, ain't nothing to talk about. Right? If you signed a job description at work when you came in, now if they start telling you, all right, JB, you know, you're gonna have to start, somebody bust through, you know, you're gonna have to take some people out, you're gonna have to shoot some people. You be like, hold up, that ain't in my contract. Ain't no discussion. When they say, well, no, you work here though, what you gonna do? What I sign right here, I'm responsible for A, B, C, D, and E, F, G, and H. I ain't got nothing to do with it. Cause you put this on paper. Y'all said this. So now, whether I vote for the next person or not, y'all already put this on the contract. Y'all already said this was gonna happen. Again, just like how the slave got free, the amendment that freed slave, guess what? They put that on paper. We're still living off of that now because they put that on paper. We ain't had to vote for nothing. They put that on paper. They gave us the right to vote. And that was why I said, why pass the Civil Rights Act of 1964, or rather the Voting Registration Act, and y'all already put it on paper. Nobody fought for freedom of speech or the right to bear arms and all that. Why? Because they put it on paper. So now y'all gave us the right to vote, but now we got to go get another amendment, another bill passed, and y'all already gave us that. That's just like how if you tell EJ and T, like, all right, you know, y'all can watch TV. You know what I'm saying? And then you already said it's in stone, but now they got to come back and then say, well, no, you got to get something else in writing. It's like, why? Dad already said.
I'm with you on that. I don't make the rules. You just try to play by the laws of the land, and whatever channels it is to get changed. That's what we got to do. So, but we done went over.
I think it's a good discussion.
Yeah, that was a great discussion.
Actually, think about it though. If you look at our views, like the videos that are longer get the most views.
Really, yeah.
So I don't really be, you know what I'm saying? Like,
we may chop this up into two because I don't know how long we've been going.
Man, I think y'all know what to do, man. If y'all like it. And at the end of the day, like, and this is the first time that we've done a podcast that we really kind of went, you know, we've had some disagreement,
right?
But we was kind of going in, and it's still love.
Yeah, it's all love.
You can still drink from my cup.
Yeah.
At the end of the day.
Oh yeah.
You know what I'm saying? I'm still a godfather to these kids at the end of the day.
For sure.
That don't change.
For sure.
But at the end of the day, I know his heart, and I know where he at. He know my heart, and he know where I'm at. I said before, I don't like saying we agree to disagree because he doesn't want to disagree with me. He doesn't like that we disagree. It's just certain things we disagree on, and that's what it is.
Certain stuff I do like it. I like we kind of press each other's buttons sometimes. This not one of them.
But it makes a good conversation.
It does. So
especially when we talking about the Cowboys on the 49ers.
Oh yeah. That's a whole nother thing. Actually, I thought about wearing my jersey today.
I'm glad you did.
I was. I should have. He wore the hat. It would have been a good little contrast. But
I'm hoping we get Deshaun Watson. Ooh, come on over, Deshaun.
No.
Come on to the gold rush, Deshaun.
Please don't do that.
Deshaun Watson.
Please don't do that.
What Scottie Pippen do when he was trying to get Jordan to come back, Deshaun?
Right.
He held the shoe with 23 on it.
I ain't gonna lie. If y'all got him, that wouldn't be.
With Kittle?
I wouldn't like that.
And those would sit with Ayuk and Juice Check and man.
Hopefully that doesn't happen. So, but yeah, man. Until next time, man. Keep that executive mindset.
And as always, keep it presidential. Foul. Bring the dirt.